Apart from the construction of the hydroelectric power, Nkrumah adopted certain measures to promote state control of the economy. Some of these measures were industrialization. Nkrumah's administration set the agenda for industrialization for the country so as to reduce the country's dependence on agriculture for economic survival. Accordingly, he established a number of light industries at Tema, which was to be the industrial heart of the country. Examples of such industries were Takwa Bunsa Tie Factory, Bolgatanga Rice Factory, Komenda Sugar Factory, Akosombo Textiles Limited, Kede Machit Factory, Aboso Glass Factory, Kumasi Shoe Factory, Poalugu Tomato Factory, Insawam Cannery, Brick and Tile Factory, etc. By 1965, the number of wholly state-owned industries had increased from 13 to 22, while as many as 20 more were under construction. These industries were to ensure the production of consumer goods both for the local market and export for the SAP region, and they were to depend on local materials. Another highlight of the economic development that took place during the CPP was in the field of banking and insurance, which had hitherto been dominated by the expatriate. The foreign banks were more generous to the Europeans than they were to Ghanaian traders. Hence, Ghanaian traders found it difficult to obtain loans for businesses. To change this trend, Nkrumah established banking and insurance institutions with large heart for the indigenous industrialists. In 1961, Ghana Commercial Bank was controlling 40% of total deposit and 50% of all credit business. In 1964, it was controlling 52% of total deposit and 84% of credit businesses. In a move to ease congestion at Takoradi Harbour, the Nkrumah government constructed the Tema Harbour. It was started in 1954 and commissioned in 1962. The government again established a shipping line called the Black Star Line in 1958 in pursuit of the CPP's government's policy of self-reliance and independence. The regime of Nkrumah also gave much attention to the transport network of the country so as to provide a catalyst for economic growth. Many feeder roads were built to link agricultural areas to the urban centers. Example of roads constructed under the CPP regime was Takoradi Accra Axim Road. The most important of these roads was the Accra-Tema motorway. Also, the Adome Bridge was built in 1956 to connect the Volta region to the rest of the southern Ghana. To be self-reliant in air travel, the Nkrumah government also established her own national airline, the Ghana Airways Corporation, and brought some airplanes for it.
In 1958, just a year after independence, Ghana Airways was created. At the time, Ghana was not only building institutions on the ground, but also seeking a presence in the skies. With financial backing of about £400,000 and technical partnership from Britain, the airline took its first steps. President Nkrumah, however, had a larger vision. He did not want Ghana's airline to simply exist through foreign partnership. He wanted it to represent the independence and ambition of a new African nation. Over time, the government bought out the British stake, making the airline fully Ghanaian. When its aircraft landed in cities like London, Rome, or New York, it was more than transportation. It was a symbol of Ghana connecting directly with the world. During its peak years, the airline operated an impressive fleet that reflected different eras of aviation technology. Aircraft such as the Ilyushin OL-18, the Vickers C-10, and the powerful McDonnell Douglas DC-10 carried the Black Star across continents. For many travellers arriving at international terminals, the tail fin bearing Ghana's star was a proud symbol of African presence in global aviation.
In February 1962, the government of CPP established the State Construction Corporation to handle all government construction work. The State Construction Corporation was in effect responsible for the execution of all major constructional works of the government during the period. For example, between 1964 and 1965, the SCC was handling 75% of all government construction work. The Nkrumah government established the State Farms Corporation in the country primarily with a view of increasing food production as well as ensuring food security. The corporation cultivated coconut, oil palm, cola, banana, rubber, and many hectares of food crops. On the field of education, the number of primary schools increased from 3,571 in 1957 to 3,713 in 1959, and that of middle school from 1,311 to 1,394. Fee-free elementary education was introduced. That of government and approved secondary schools rose from 38 in 1957, most of them built by the Ghana Educational Trust, which Nkrumah set up in 1958, and that of private schools from 22 to 52. Examples of schools built under the Ghana Educational Trust policy were Mfanstiman SHS, Oforipenyi SHS, Techiman SHS, Winneba SHS, Swedro SHS, Apam SHS, Doma SHS, Tema SHS, Oda SHS, and Laboni SHS. Many teacher training colleges were built. For example, Nkrumah built Kwadasu College of Education, Atebubu Training College, Brekum Training College, Fosu Training College, and Enche Training College. As a result of importance Nkrumah attached to education, he introduced free education for primary and middle school, that is JHS. He also introduced free senior high school education in the northern region. Again, all university education was free with textbooks and free meals with a stipend for students. In the field of health, the CPP government established the Ghana Medical School in 1964. Again, the CPP government established a number of nursing training schools for nurses and midwives to solve the problem of inadequate staff in the health sector. For example, by 1962, 6 of such nursing schools had been built, and it produced 265 new nurses and midwives. Nkrumah's government introduced certain repressive laws that made his government unpopular. Some of these laws finally led to the overthrow of his regime in 1966. Nkrumah, through Parliament, introduced the following act. The first among these laws was the Deportation Act, which was passed in July 1957. This law empowered the Nkrumah government to deport from the country aliens found to be offering support and financial assistance to those opposed to the government. In December 1957, the CPP government introduced the Avoidance of Discrimination Act, which banned all parties, that is political parties, and groupings organized on regional, tribal, and religious bases. After the passage of the act, the opposition party, which were tribal and regional groupings, merged into one party called the United Party (UP) under the leadership of Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Bugia. In January 1958, the Emergency Power Act was passed. This law gave powers to the government to deal firmly with any political unrest and disturbances in the country. The last of these measures, which turned out to be the most unpopular of all, was the Preventive Detention Act (PDA). This act empowered the government to arrest and detain without court trial for 5 years anybody suspected to be engaged in activities detrimental to the security of the nation. Towards the end of the year, the Nkrumah government used the PDA to arrest 43 members of the UP. From 1959, many more persons became victims of the PDA, including J.B. Dankwa and Obechebi Lamte, both of whom died in detention. On February 1st, 1964, Nkrumah's government introduced the one-party system. Ghana officially became a constitutionally mandated one-party state on February 1st, 1964. Under this system, the Convention's People's Party, CPP, became the only legitimate political party in Ghana.
Almost all of the African states which broke away from the colonial yoke established one-party states.
Do you think a one-party state is good for democracy? If it wasn't democracy, then they should have left us with their colonial masters. They did not force us.
I waited one day when it was a good mood alone. Then I said, "So why do you want a one-party state?" Then he said, "I've established so many industries and institutions, and I don't have enough competent people to man them. Many of the people who can do this are in the opposition." And that was why later I found the only way out was to have a one-party state. So we all belong.